What if France's biggest advantage at the 2026 World Cup isn't Mbappé, but something almost nobody is talking about? The 2-0 score against Morocco looks comfortable on paper, but the deeper I dug into this match, the less it felt like a simple quarterfinal victory, and the more it looked like a warning to every team still left in the tournament. Because this wasn't just France beating Morocco. This was France revealing a system that's becoming terrifyingly difficult to stop. And somehow, one of the biggest arguments surrounding this team has almost nothing to do with football itself. So is everyone focusing on the wrong story? I've watched plenty of dominant international teams over the years, and one pattern always stands out. The teams that scare me the most aren't the ones that create endless highlight reels. They're the ones that make elite opponents slowly disappear from the game without anyone noticing. That's exactly what happened here. Morocco didn't walk into this tournament as some lucky underdog. They had already built a reputation as one of the toughest defensive teams in international football. Organized, disciplined, comfortable without the ball. The kind of team that frustrates favorites into making mistakes. For long stretches, that's exactly what they tried to do. But France never looked impatient. That might be the most dangerous thing about this squad. Instead of forcing impossible passes or relying on individual brilliance every possession, they simply kept applying pressure. Wave after wave. Every attack felt slightly different. Every movement asked Morocco another difficult question. Eventually, even great defenses run out of answers. That's something statistics rarely capture. People love talking about possession percentages or expected goals. What matters more is psychological pressure. How many minutes can defenders stay perfect before one tiny mistake changes everything? Against France, that clock seems to move faster than against anyone else. Then there's Mbappé. Here's where I think many people oversimplify what he actually does. Yes, everyone knows he scores goals. Yes, everyone knows he's ridiculously fast. But his biggest weapon isn't finishing, it's gravity. Not literal gravity, football gravity. Every defender knows exactly where he is. Every midfielder starts cheating toward his side. Entire defensive structures bend around him before he even touches the ball. That's what opens space for everyone else. During this match, Mbappé wasn't just creating chances for himself. He was dragging Morocco's defensive shape apart one movement at a time. That made life dramatically easier for players like Ousmane Dembélé, who took full advantage when opportunities appeared. It's funny because casual fans usually remember the final touch. The real damage happened 5 seconds earlier. That's championship football. And Dembélé deserves far more credit than he's getting. For years, people questioned his consistency. Could he stay healthy? Could he make the right decisions? Could he deliver in massive moments? Against Morocco, he looked like someone completely comfortable carrying responsibility instead of avoiding it. That's a huge difference. Elite tournaments aren't won by one superstar. They're won when secondary stars stop feeling secondary. France suddenly has multiple players capable of deciding matches independently. That's a nightmare for every opponent. Because who do you stop first? Mbappé? Dembélé? The creator behind them? The runner arriving late? The fullback overlapping? Good luck! What really caught my attention, though, wasn't even the attack. It was how calm France remained after taking control. We've all seen teams score early and immediately retreat into survival mode. France did the opposite. They kept asking for more. Not recklessly, not emotionally, methodically. That discipline says something important. This group doesn't seem interested in surviving games. They want ownership of them. And that's where the conversation becomes much bigger than one match. After the final whistle, analysts pointed out that France had now reached the World Cup semifinals for a third consecutive tournament. Read that again. 3 straight World Cup semifinals. That's not luck. That's not one golden generation. That's infrastructure, development, planning, continuity. Those things aren't nearly as exciting as bicycle kicks or last-minute winners, but they create dynasties. People often talk about national teams as if they're built every 4 years. They're not. They're built over decades. Youth academies, coaching philosophies, player development, competitive domestic environments, international experience from a young age. France has quietly turned all of those into an assembly line, and that might explain why losing one superstar never seems to destroy them. Another one always appears. Sometimes two, sometimes five. That leads directly into one of the most controversial conversations surrounding this team. If you've spent even 5 minutes reading online reactions after this match, you've probably seen the debate explode again. Some commenters argued that France owes its success primarily to players with immigrant backgrounds or African heritage. Others fired back immediately, saying those players were developed inside the French football system, trained by French coaches, and represent France regardless of family origin. Here's my perspective. The argument itself misses the point. Modern football is global. National identity has become far more complex than many fans want to admit. France didn't accidentally collect talented players. It created an environment where talent from incredibly diverse backgrounds could develop together at the highest level. That's completely different. And honestly, every major football nation now faces versions of the same conversation. The world has changed. Football changed with it. Ignoring that reality doesn't make it disappear. Still, there's no denying the debate generates enormous emotion. Some viewers celebrated France's diversity as one of its greatest strengths. Others insisted the team no longer reflects traditional French identity. Whether people like it or not, this discussion has become almost impossible to separate from modern international football. And that emotional layer makes every French victory feel bigger than just 90 minutes. Meanwhile, I don't want Morocco's performance to disappear simply because they lost. That would be incredibly unfair. This team fought hard. For stretches of the game, they defended with remarkable organization. Their goalkeeper produced moments that kept the match alive far longer than many expected. Against lesser opponents, that level of defending probably earns victories. Against France, it delayed the inevitable. That's an important distinction. Sometimes a team doesn't fail. Sometimes the opponent simply solves every puzzle eventually. Morocco also represents something bigger. Their rise over recent tournaments isn't random. They're investing in football, developing players, creating belief, and with the 2030 World Cup approaching, their long-term trajectory might matter more than this single defeat. That's a sign of genuine progress. Another thing I found fascinating wasn't on the pitch at all. It was the reaction from viewers. The comment sections became their own battlefield. Some fans confidently declared France the future world champion. Others insisted Spain remained the only team capable of stopping them. A few believed Argentina still possessed the experience to expose weaknesses in France's midfield. And then there were viewers who weren't talking about tactics whatsoever. Instead, they criticized the broadcast commentary itself. Some even joked that the commentators sounded like artificial intelligence rather than real people. I actually think those reactions reveal something interesting about modern sports consumption. Fans no longer just watch games. They evaluate everything: commentary, camera angles, graphics, production quality, social media reactions. The match has become only one part of the entertainment experience. That's a massive shift compared to even 10 years ago. Now, let's address what might be France's biggest vulnerability. Because no team is perfect. Several viewers pointed out that highly organized sides like Spain could present a completely different challenge. I think there's some truth there. France thrives when transitions appear, when attackers can isolate defenders, when athleticism creates mismatches. Spain changes the equation. Instead of chaotic transitions, Spain often forces opponents into extended positional battles. That's a completely different test. Argentina offers another unique challenge: experience, game management, emotional control, tournament maturity. Those aren't measurable statistics, but they decide championships all the time. So despite how dominant France looked here, I don't think this tournament is already over. Far from it. If anything, this victory increases expectations to almost impossible levels. That's dangerous. Every additional win creates more pressure. Every dominant performance raises the standard. Suddenly, winning isn't enough. Winning beautifully becomes the expectation, and expectations have destroyed plenty of great teams before. One thing I absolutely loved about this match was France's patience. Modern football often rewards speed, fast counters, fast decisions, fast headlines. France showed another path. Sometimes the smartest attack is simply refusing to panic. Keep moving, keep probing, keep believing the opening will eventually appear. Against Morocco, it did. Twice. That patience reflects confidence. Teams unsure of themselves rush. Confident teams wait. There's another hidden advantage people rarely discuss: squad depth. Everyone talks about starting 11s. World Cups aren't won by 11 players. They're won by 23. Injuries happen, suspensions happen, fatigue happens, extra time happens. France consistently produces replacements who would start for many other national teams. That's absurd. Imagine preparing tactically for Mbappé, only to deal with fresh elite attackers arriving later. That's exhausting mentally as much as physically. Championship teams weaponize depth. France may have mastered it better than anyone remaining. As I kept reviewing the match, one phrase stayed in my head: controlled inevitability. Everything France did felt like it was moving toward the same destination. Not dramatically, not emotionally, steadily. That can be more intimidating than explosive football, because if momentum never disappears, hope slowly disappears with it. Morocco kept competing. France kept advancing, minute after minute, attack after attack. Eventually, the scoreboard simply reflected what the flow of the game had already suggested. That's the hallmark of elite teams. They don't always overwhelm opponents instantly. Sometimes they convince opponents' resistance is becoming impossible. There's an enormous psychological difference. The best teams don't merely score. They convince everyone watching that another goal feels unavoidable. France is starting to create exactly that feeling. And once opponents begin believing that, the battle is already halfway lost. Which brings me back to the question that started all of this. Everyone sees Mbappé. Everyone notices the goals. Everyone celebrates the stars. But maybe the real story isn't any individual player at all. Maybe France has quietly built something much more valuable. A football machine that keeps producing world-class talent, adapts to every generation, survives every transition, and somehow becomes stronger every time people predict its decline. If that's true, then this victory over Morocco wasn't simply another step toward a trophy. It may have been the moment the rest of the world realized they aren't chasing one superstar anymore. They're chasing an entire system. And if that's the case, who can actually stop it before it's too late?
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.